What's up, scholars? Welcome back. It is your last lesson of geometry semester 2, summer of 2020. Are you ready? Are you ready, Miss Atkin? Yeah, dude, I'm so ready. All right, let's do it. All right, our last lesson is on inscribed polygons, specifically inscribed quadrilaterals. Now, what does that mean? It means a quadrilateral that has all of its vertices on the outside of a circle. So here's our inscribed quadrilateral. Let's give it some letters. Let's say it's A, B, C, and D, all about circle O. So A, B, C, D is inscribed, meaning all of its vertices are on the circle. All of its vertices are on the circle. All vertices are on the circle. Cool, cool, cool beans. All right. So remember when we talked about inscribed angles, for example, angle ABD, angle ABD is an inscribed angle because all of its points are on the outside of the circle. And we knew that ABD was half of this arc, half of the arc that it subtended, right? And we also know that this angle DCB is an inscribed angle because all of its vertices are on the circle, and it is half of this inscribed, or this arc. And together, let's actually just write out what we just said. So the measure of angle BAD is equal to 1/2 the arc, let's say BCD. Half the measure of the arc BCD. Because I'm not sure if it's over 180 or less than 180, so just in case, I'll say that it is a major arc. And we know that the measure of angle DCB is half of this arc BAD. Half of the arc BAD. We also know that together, this whole thing makes a circle. So we know that the measure of BCD, arc BCD, plus the measure of arc BAD is equal to a whole circle, which is how much? 360. Cool, cool, cool beans. All right, so that means if we take the measure, oh, I did those backwards. Look, that should have been in blue, that should have been in red. It's all right, you guys are smart, you'll figure it out. So we know that BCD plus BAD is equal to 360. We know that BAD plus DCB, which is the same, or this is the angle, this is the arc. So now I'm saying all this backwards. Well, let's start over. We know the angle BAD is half of this arc. We know the angle DCB is half of this arc. We know the two arcs together equal 360, right? The two arcs together equal 360. So we would know that half of the arcs together, we added 1/2 BCD plus 1/2 the arc BAD. Let's just write out what I'm saying. The 1/2 the measure of arc BCD plus 1/2 the measure of arc BAD. Since the two of them fully together equal 360, half of them together is going to be half of 360, which is how much? 180. So that means that since 1/2 of the arc BCD was equal to the measure of BAD. So this angle here. So that means the measure of angle BAD plus the measure of angle DCB, which is half of arc BAD, which is right here. So these two angles together equal 180. So what we're saying here is when we have an inscribed quadrilateral, the opposite angles will add together to be 180 degrees. So when ABCD is inscribed, its opposite angles are, if they add together to be 180, what do we call that? That means they're supplementary. Opposite angles are supplementary. Opposite angles are supplementary. Awesome. That's pretty much what we need to know to do some Alex questions. Are you ready? Yeah, dude, I'm so ready. Let's do it. Great. All right, hit me, Alex. It says quadrilateral STUV is inscribed in circle R. What does that mean? All of its vertices are on the outside of the circle. So we got a V and an S, and it's called circle R. We got a U here and a T here. Great. So let's answer some questions. It says the measure of angle S is equal to, we don't know anything about the measure of angle S. I mean, we know it's an inscribed angle because all of its vertices are on the circle. Oh, so we know that it is half of this arc right here. So the measure of angle S is equal to 1/2 the measure of arc BUT. So what do we know about the measure of angle U? Well, we know that one's also an inscribed angle. So we know its measure is half of this arc. So the measure of angle U is 1/2 the measure of arc VST. Cool. All right, choose the correct expression for the sum of the measure of S and the measure of U. The measure of S plus the measure of U, so let's just add those two up. The measure of angle S plus the measure of angle U equals, well, measure of S is 1/2 of that, measure of this is, or U is 1/2 of that. So that's equal to 1/2 the measure of arc BUT plus 1/2 the measure of arc VST. And I see these both have a 1/2 in front, so we can pull that out. So it'll be 1/2 the measure of arc BUT plus the measure of VST. Great. Well, what do we know about the measure of S plus the measure of U? Well, we already talked about, we already talked about the fact that opposite angles in an inscribed quadrilateral are supplementary. So we know the measure of angle S plus the measure of angle U equals 180 degrees. Let's slide this guy down. What else do we know? From the steps above, classify angle S and angle U. Well, angle S and angle U add to 180. So angle S and angle U are supplementary. Angle S and angle U are supplementary. Que fabuloso! Let's do another one. Let's get us a new piece of paper. The same letters, huh, Alex? Wait, no way. Ah, there we go. Okay. Next example, quadrilateral. I mean, yes, the same letters, but a different picture. Fine. Ooh, terrible circle. We have a T and a U and a V and an S And all together, this is still an inscribed quadrilateral because all of its vertices are on the outside of circle R. Okay, so what do we know about angle T? Angle T here is an inscribed angle because all of its vertices are on the circle. We know that it is half of the arc it subtends. So the measure of angle T is 1/2 the arc SVU, 1/2 the measure of arc SVU, special Vixens unit for those of you that are Law and Order fans. And the measure of angle V, also an inscribed angle because all of its vertices are on the circle. The measure of angle V is going to be half of the arc it subtends, which is this guy. So the measure of angle V is 1/2 the measure of arc STU. STU. All right. So what do we know about adding these two things together? Well, let's just add those together. The measure of angle T plus the measure of angle V will be equal to, what's T equal to? Half the measure of SVU, 1/2 the measure of arc SVU, plus what's angle V equal? 1/2 the measure of STU. And we know that these are opposite angles in an inscribed quadrilateral, so we know the measure of angle T plus the measure of angle V is 180 degrees. Cool, 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 cool. Oh, we could have said one step before, so this is for part C. Excuse me. Whew. Just like in the last question, both of these have a 1/2 that we could pull out. So let me finish part B. Sorry about that. Finishing part B. Measure of angle T plus the measure of angle V equals, if we pull the 1/2 out of both of these parts, we get 1/2 times the measure of arc SVU plus the measure of arc STU. So then in part C, again, we know that these add up to 180 because they are opposite angles in an inscribed quadrilateral. Also, we know these two arcs would add up to be 360 because they make up a whole circle. So half of a circle would be 180. And then finally, part D, if T and U add up to be 180, T and U, angle T and angle U are supplementary. Supplementary. Wonderful, darling. Wonderful. All right, what did we learn? We learned about inscribed polygons, specifically inscribed quadrilaterals. That was all we were focusing on. Inscribed means all the vertices are on the circle. And we found that opposite angles are supplementary, regardless of what this thing looks like, because each of these angles is inscribed, and an inscribed angle is half of the arc it subtends. This angle is half the arc it subtends. The entire circle is 360. So if we add these two things up, they are half of a circle, which is 180, which makes them supplementary. Wonderful. All right, scholars, you've made it to the very last lesson. I am so proud of you. Miss Akin, it's been wonderful hanging out with you. I appreciate you so much. Scholars, I love you. Do your best. Keep on that hustle. You're almost there. Work hard on that final. Make sure you're going to hang out with your teachers, asking them questions. And I will see you when school starts. Peace.